And then I had a very enthusiastic secretary in the form of Mr. Ramanan. I don't know whether he's there today or not. I was hoping to see him today. So, and then we started talking about it. The second thing which I always have done in my corporate area, career, I always thought research and practice are married. Though the popular belief is research is different and practice is different. And obviously, and I always believed that it cannot be separated. Okay? So, and I always remember my favorite quote is of Carl Lewin, who once told, there cannot be any better practice than a good theory. Right? So, this was also in my mind in terms of, asking, thinking in terms of how do you, make people believe that there is, can we bring in the Gen Y, as you said, in some intervention, and also kind of make people aware that the kind of work they're doing. So when you are bringing the Gen Y, I remember the discussion, the first thing came to our mind is, can we do for the MBA students, and especially HR specialization. And then we also wanted to encourage kind of research that I always have done, even today, sort of, I'm doing that. So when we started doing that, we thought, why not make these two things work? And that's how, and we brainstormed. That is the time when I remember we had a very good executive team, a lot of people I remember there, and we kind of brainstormed. What could we do? And then we said that, in fact, the way I always worked is I told my executive member, and that was very easy to do, as you know, from a managerial perspective. I said, each one of you should take something in your plate and just go and execute it. And all, of course, you should do is in the executive committee, you should discuss, because we shouldn't in for a surprise. Sometimes somebody hears that this is going to happen and nobody knows. So discuss it and do it. So that actually worked very well, I think. And then a lot of people talked to this business school. And then we said, and that's how we came out with the name of Triad. We said, A, we should get Gen Y, and therefore the students. B, we should say that the only way you can make people a research work or the profession enhances rigor is having managers who are interested in research. And the first thing, if you think something to look at research, the first thing any manager does is definitely they guide the interns, the MBA HR specialization students. That's the first thing they do. So we said, okay, so not only that, can we reward these managers also? Then if you reward them, obviously people will know, okay, this is the organization, this is the manager, because this is the first thing. And I personally believe, and that's how I worked in my team, one of the first things I used to test the leadership is any interns will come, I used to give it to my younger managers. And I said, this is the first thing. And even many a times I've given it to people who have never started managing somebody yet. They were individual contributors. So I said, hey, here is a chance to do that. So I thought that is a very good thing which should happen. And third, of course, we said, and that's why we said, and industry, and then the academic. We talked about the people who do it, we talked about industry, and third is academic. My intention was to, again, marry them. And we got a tremendous response, and we had a lot of people, including, as I remember, Anuradha. I don't see her today as well. She has been a member for many years in the Executive Council, and she was associated with Wellinkar. And like her, there are a lot of my colleagues who went to different business schools, and we started. And eventually, I think it is still now, as I understand, Sudesh, is even years after years, it is a wonderful program. Every year, participation goes on, and I think, and I hope that it will continue to be kind of being done. And I'm sure a lot of innovation has taken place. I know after I started, and that's the beauty of it in NHRD, as I always say, that if you sow a seed, then it becomes a big tree, and different people bring in a lot of innovations. And I understand there are a lot of innovations have taken place from where I kind of started. So,
Thanks,
good
Pallab.
memories.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing this with us. And now, another interesting question for you, Mr. Ahmed Ali. You said you were kind of coaxed to get into this role as a president here, and you took up this role. So what was it like the first day in office? What was going on in your mind? What did you think? Where have I landed? What's happening?
Well, I think, first of all, there was no office, right? Virtual office. But anyway, when I said, okay, I will take it over, and unlike Pallab, I am more of a networker. I'm not a scholarly individual. So I said, let me do, everybody has to use their own strength. And I came from Bombay. And in Bombay, I used to be a little active with NIPM because NHRD was just coming up at that time. And Bombay, I found that, I don't know, some of you would have heard the name of Mantri and Gore and Karniks. They stuck onto this role of chairman for permanently, I think. They would not move out. But we were juniors at that time, and I said we should do something about it. And I also felt, I think, coming from an NIPM background and in being, and when I came here to Bangalore, the persons whom I knew one was H.N. Srinivas and Devre to some extent. So there was an influence of NIPM here also, and they had an office in Blue Cross Road, as you know. So I did not know what I should do now as a president because I was not even a committee member earlier. So then I thought one other thing would be to bring these groups together, and I'll tell you later what happened, how did we start this HR Professionals Day. Let me tell you about it right now. What happened was, Chandramouli is here, he's a witness to that. It was the turn of the Bangalore chapter in 98-99 to host the National HRD summit. However, if you recall, that was the economy had come down a little bit, so we went and tried with a couple of companies for some sponsorship, and we couldn't get the funds. So we said, now what do we do, in the sense, so we had to write back to them, so sorry, it will not be a success. If you want us to do it, we'll still try to do it, but we can't guarantee because, all the IT companies were also just coming up, and then they had a bit of a problem in 89, 80, because of the 99, what was it called? Platform burst or whatever. So we could not get enough money, and Bangalore, of course, there were not too many other manufacturing and other companies which were thriving. So we said, we may not be successful. And of course, then we said, let's do something unique. And we thought of this, having a professional day. We called it, we could not name anything other than that. So we went to NIPM, I think it was Prakash Chandra at that time, and Ramnath, they were all the committee. Prakash Chandra was the president, I think, and Ramnath was the secretary or whatever. They also said, fine, it's a good idea. But our condition was that on that day, there shall not be a stage. Everybody will contribute. I still remember, it was 300 rupees. 300 rupees, and whether you are a junior or young man starting his career, or you are the managing director or HR director of a big firm, on that day we'll all be on equal platform. There will be no kind of a differentiation. There will be no speech making. Those were the preambles which we set for the HR Professional Day. We did it the first year, and of course the second year after the merger of GlaxoSmithKline, I went off. Now, of course, taken a totally different turn in the Professional Day. But it was an initiative of NHRD primarily to bring professionals irrespective of which association they are affiliated to. On that day, we all are HR community. We should have some understanding of each other. And it proved to be a big success. And I think it is still a big success. And believe me, Bombay, there was Mr. Hegde, who was the secretary of NIPM. He still writes to the NHRD National Committee that why don't we have this all over India? And they have not been successful. So I think in that also, I think Bangalore has played a lead role. And I hope it continues.
Thank you, sir. What an interesting initiative. Ramesh, moving on to you, Showcase this year was, one of the most talked about events and one of the most happening events that got talked about within the HR professional community in Bangalore. So tell me about, why don't why don't you tell us about, how did you conceive it and how did it all come together? What are some of the things that were at the back of your mind as you started to kind of build this?
Well, this showcase was actually a continuum of what was something which was started about 2 years back when, as part of the National HRD National Conference was held in Bangalore. Um, it was part of that particular program where we said that we will be giving a platform to people to share some of the HR best practices. And then as part of that particular program, we realized the potential that we saw in this whole initiative. And then we said, why not we make this as a signature event for Bangalore chapter itself? And that's how we conceptualized it, the leaders then. And then this time, of course, when the present committee with Sudesh as the president and Bala and others got together, we realized why not we continue the tradition of this HR best practice program and make showcase as a signature event for Bangalore. So it was initially thought we'll try and do it every 2 years or 3 years, but given the reception that we had this year, given the support that we had, an overwhelming response from not only from the local people from across the country, we attempted to make it even more often. I'm sure Sudesh will share more in days to come, but it was certainly a very interesting platform where we saw 35 best HR practices finally at the MLR convention, but almost 100 HR best practices were shared by different corporates across the country. And it was really a very tough choice to finally identify the top 6 best practices. And of course, 3 of them went to Bombay also, and I think a couple of them were also the winners from the Bangalore chapter at the national level. It was indeed a great experience for us, and I'm sure all the participants, the visitors, the members, almost about 1,500 of them participated, found it a very useful exercise to know each other, to know what's happening in the industry, and to catch up with all the best practices around.
Thank you. I think while we talked a little bit about the initiatives and what happened in each of these years, it'll be interesting for us to specifically understand from you, Mr. Ahmed Ali, when you reflect back, what is one biggest challenge? What tough times do you face? I'm sure when you started initially, there may be multiple of them, but something that you can reflect and share with us.
I think the membership at that time, and Chandramouli can add, we were struggling to enroll members because NIPM was quite active here. That was one challenge that we had, and I don't remember the numbers and all, so that was a big challenge. Again, holding meetings, fortunately, of course, Chandramouli and I, president and the secretary were he was in Praxair, I was in SmithKline, we were quite close to each other. But others had to come from different places, so we could not. So some of the meetings used to happen in my office on Cunningham Road, or a couple of times in the Bangalore Golf Club. So these were some of the issues. And as I said, 99, 98, that period was a bit of a sluggish period, economic, in terms of economy. And therefore we struggled in terms of sponsorship and things like that. But we used to have our monthly regular meetings. We used to have them in Harsha Hotel. We used to get good speakers, and it grew during that time. But yes, the economy was a challenge, and therefore enrolling members, getting sponsorship was a big challenge. But the good thing was, we had fantastic, all these 2 gentlemen here. Mali was a committee member, so we had all my committee members became big stars. So that's something that I'm very proud of. Okay.
So thank you. I think with this, it was a good reflection of how we walked down the memory lane. Before we kind of close today's round of discussion, an interesting one that I wanted to at least throw to 3 of you, which is Ahmed Ali and Pallab, and when you took over and started this journey from where you started, the simple beginnings. Did you think 25 years celebration? This is the dais. This is the celebration. 2 years. Success story that we have envisaged. Was this there somewhere in the vision or somewhere in the mind?
Let me start this because I really am very, very proud and happy that last few years I think the Bangalore chapter has been done tremendous great job. The national conference, which was primarily Harish was the president, he did a tremendous job. I think it was the best that is acknowledged as is the best national conference. So we'd never imagine so. You know, I don't know if in 94 or something we had NIPM Asia Pacific Conference in Tata Institute. You remember that? Which began actually, the foundation of that began in my house in Belvedere Court on Spencer Road, when H.N. Srinivas and Preetham Singh and all, we all gathered, and it was a big success. But I think that conference of NHRD, we had a lot of expats come for that Asia Pacific conference. So I think NHRD, last 4-5 years have been really, really good. And I think it is also because of the primary leadership. I think Sudhish's leadership this year and last year has been exemplary. I must tell this openly here. Every move of his is communicated to the past presidents. You know, I never did that, and I don't know how many of the past presidents, all the earlier presidents did that. But Sudhish, I must applaud that quality of help communicating with us. We feel happy about it. We know at this stage of our life we can't contribute much. You don't care for much, but yet when you do that, it makes us feel good. And keep that up. And I'm giving a message to the future president. So that was not imagined. And I think it is all the leadership that Bangalore has as a chapter, even Mali, because he was very busy with his job and all that. Sometimes when everybody's busy, but you need to find the time to do it. Yeah. So I did not anticipate, but it has surpassed my expectation.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, all of you, for being here for today's conversation. It was wonderful reflecting back on the journey for the last 25 years. On behalf of all of us, I would request to get all of you to give a standing ovation for these gentlemen who have contributed to this 25 years of celebration, and I'm sure Bangalore chapter will continue to dominate and grow from strength to strength from here. Thank you.
Helping us relive the memories of the glorious journey. Memories indeed tell us stories, a story that is close to our heart and that we cherish. Let's now move on to the world, a different world, a world of music. Music is a language which we all understand, and it instantly connects all of us. Where word fails is the music which makes the difference.
Coming next is thematic music by Mansi Prasad. Mansi creates a graceful blend of many talents and accomplishments. She combines years of traditional training with a modern outlook. She does recording and composing music for her albums. She writes, speaks on arts, creates new productions that combine various artistic disciplines, and also hosts television shows.
She is a performing artist over 15 years, has traveled extensively in India and across the world. She's also academically accomplished. She holds an engineering degree in information science and MBA from the prestigious Management Institute, IIMB. So let's get into the world of thematic music along with Mansi. Mansi, over to you.
Like 5 minutes, we'll set up and start. Check. To all of you present here, it's such a pleasure to be part of this conference this evening. As you may have heard in the introduction, I have a background in music and in management, which is why it gives me a lot of pleasure and happiness to be at places where I can make the two worlds meet. So I'm sure a lot of you have a question in your minds as to what do music and management really have in common with each other, right? After all, music is an art and management is a science. But if you talk to any really great musician, they will say music is also a science. And I'm sure all the seniors here will agree that good management is an art. That's where music and management can have a lot to teach each other. And I do believe that I've had the opportunity to learn a lot from music and apply that in my career, as well as take a lot from management and apply it to music. And I would like to share some of these vignettes with you in this evening's performance. And joining me in this short 45-minute concert is the very accomplished Solomon, who is perhaps Bangalore's best-known pianist and keyboard player. He has worked with legends of music, and he is a music composer, a music arranger, works with several fusion bands, etc. And it's a pleasure to have Solomon here this evening with me. Without further ado, we will begin with an invocation, a series of Sanskrit shlokas strung together, which again apply very much to conferences such as these, which are about sharing of knowledge. So you would all have heard the verse, Asatoma Sadgamaya, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya. Let us move from untruth unto truth, from darkness to light, from mortality to immortality. The second part of this shloka talks about how knowledge is ultimate. It says, Anna Danam Param Danam, while donating of material objects is great, Vidya Danam Atah Param. Vidya Danam, the gift of knowledge, is greater than that. Why? Annena Kshanika Triptihi, because material pleasures give happiness but for a second. Yavat Jivam Cha Vidyaya, but knowledge is for a lifetime. So with these few verses in Sanskrit, we will begin our concert this evening. Thank you. Asatoma